Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Wednesday, October 1st, 2025 edition of Single Stocks Trading Trends. New all-time highs today in the market. So much for digestion. We'll take a look at the charts, and today I'm happy to bring you some crazy single stock movers. Healthcare had a massive run today. I'm very emphatic on every squirrel gets a nut in this market. I would hope you trade accordingly. Well, let's get to the charts. But first, the recap of the day is what I mean. So let's go to the sheet, which has pretty much a lot of things. When ETFs, when I love the ETF show, it tells me everything I need to know from a top-down basis. Then I pick my companies, and then it helps illustrate really what's going on here in terms of my selection and how much risk exposure I want, of course, to the positions. Wow, we have a healthcare name hitting 52-week highs. We'll take a look at it. Astrazeneca with a huge move today, as did Nike and Super Microcomputer, all large rallies. We'll take a look at all those charts. And then on the downside, Corteva, Reddit, superstar Reddit. We'll take a look at that chart. And Wells Fargo, not so great today with a new all-time high SPY day. Take a look at that intraday chart as well. And the past 5 days, big gains in Bloom Energy. That one to a new all-time high today. And Western Digital, also a new all-time high today. We're noticing when we look at the gainers in the past 5 days, a lot of these have had great lifts to the all-time high mark today. You'll see what I mean when I go through the names. Okie dokie, let us get the chart of the movers here. Boopity boopity boop. Downward panel. If you have a ticker or something, put it in there. I'd love to take a look. So again, SPY closed up 1/3% to new all-time highs. Tesla up 3%. Stock looks absolutely incredible. This was an easy, as long as that held that 330 level. That was an easy one that we said, and you can check the tapes. We said momentum was going to carry that to the upside, and now Tesla looking like one of the best stocks in the market. There are so many. Meta down 2.3%. Wow. You don't see that often, but yeah, you can't be up every single day. But it has come off the highs quite a little bit. Palantir adding almost 1.5%. Micron with what we've talked about spaces. Shout out to you, Patrick. Done well. I said buy Micron. Things up 9% today. So the chart report publisher and whatnot. He was bullish on Micron yesterday. I did not disagree with it. That looks like one of the best stocks in the market. A huge ramp up today in Micron, up 9%. Wow. Broadcom up 1%. They came for the semis today. Oracle up almost 3% to 289. AMD up 1 1/3. Intel up 7%. Wow. If you're making money on this one, congratulations. I know I did say, I think a couple days ago or last week, exit, just because it's a horribly run company. I think that was actually yesterday on Spaces. My time lapses sometimes in my head. Yesterday I said, if you made money on Intel, I know some people that did. It adds another 7% today. Absolutely extraordinary with the semis momentum. And, of course, with the whole government stake. Okay, so as I zoom out, first let's get to the intraday chart because I always like looking at that first, and we'll zoom out. So really bullish from the get-go. Really 10 o'clock, it really began. We opened at about, I'm rounding, 664 to the number of the beast, 666. And it continued going up from there. We entered overbought conditions in the afternoon. Again, each of these bars is 30 minutes, and we peaked highest valuation for anyone at 3 p.m. when you hit 669.37 in SPY. That is your new all-time high. And then they sold it off a little bit down to 668.18, but still holding clearly above VWAP, which was 666.62. So all in all, very good. I know people say buy Yom Kippur, sell Rosh Hashanah. That begins tomorrow. Look at that candle. Just also, by the way, that is a bullish engulfing. It swallows up the entire previous day. And the high was 669.37. Yes, they sold it off $1.20, but that looks good to me. Back when I was looking at the bullish accumulation phase, I had said before that SPY was, let me check, and when I'm wrong, I'll tell you I'm wrong. When I'm right, I'll tell you when I'm right. I said here, we should probably bet. I said into August 8th, I said you're going to probably hopefully get an entry around 655 level with a 670 target. Today is October 1st. Now what? I still personally, the candle looks absolutely great. You don't really want to fight bullish engulfing candles. Just another thing, a little bit of a divergence. You didn't even get to 68 in the RSI, okay? And we still have an upper Bollinger Band here at 671. All I'm saying is it probably doesn't happen tomorrow. I bet we probably I don't want to bet, but on the specifically binary, but like we probably do get to 669, 670 shorter term, but then I still believe, excuse me, in a drop to about 659. Be pretty fast on that, I would say, this week. It might be, data driven. I think there's no jobs number now on Friday because of the government shutdown. So there's all kinds of nonsense like that. If you get a catalyst and you get in SPY around 659 level and associated levels for Q, so on and so forth, at your 21-day exponential, I think it'll reward you. This market is obviously, it looks pretty unstoppable. Let's get, that's pretty much it. I said before, my target was probably closer to 670 sometime in October, and look at that, October 1st. So there you go. Stochastic momentum mix. Again, just really want to call out this market. It's almost like the computers know technical analysis, right? May 12th, there's no reason to have not been in this market. It's just like you saw your kid, had a bad semester, and then you got a new, almost like a new set of classes, and they were just going to take it to the upside. Probably not the best example, but really just no reason not to own this market after mid-May. I really can't say enough of it. Once you got above this 200-day moving average, which at the time was 573, the chart just looks absolutely great. I already talked about the setup and what you should look for in terms of entry. Okie dokie. Let's look at these stocks. You really got to chart some of these because these move insanely. Let's take a look at Astrazeneca. This is a 1-year chart. Oh my goodness. I'm just assuming they cured cancer today. Let me see. 10%. That's absolutely bonkers. FDA set to review drug to treat breast cancer. Shot gets a big lift on Wall Street, and they're planning a direct U.S. listing instead of this ADR. Wow. So, wow. So, we all know AstraZeneca, massive company, $235 billion, up massive. All I care about in the chart here is this thing's up from 73 to 84 in the past couple of days. I would have said the chart looks good. You should be picking some spots in healthcare. It does look like it's ripe, and I'm not just talking about biotechs. You can get in, larger base healthcare as well. I think it's safe to get in the water selectively. My target before this would have been honestly 82 tops with an entry of around 74. So to me, this looks a little bit done. Be on the lookout for, what it does with the listings and everything. But this one, new 52-week high today on AstraZeneca. Congrats if you were in this one. I'm not going to spend too much more time on it. Next, Nike. A big move up 6.5%. Again, so I know we were talking about this yesterday. Steve Straz was looking for somewhat kind of like these setups for these these recovery stories. This is what you want to see, kind of what we saw in the broader market, emblematic of that. You want to see a stabilization, hold above the 200 moving average. Essentially, this is still going lower. Let me say 90s. It's still going down by about 3 cents. They just reported earnings. I like the lift here. This probably is going to take a little bit of time, but it's kind of the way the market's going. We all know Nike, massive $100 billion company. I would say this probably has a little bit more to go in the next week. I think it still enjoys some bullishness, but my target for this is right around $75 to like $76. I think it's a little bit more. They shot it up to $74.66 today, and then they sold it off a little bit. I think it gets a little bit of vol expansion, goes to the upper Bollinger Band, but it still stays within those August highs. But if you're Nike, I think it's a turnaround story, and I think it's starting to finally stabilize. If you want to be a lazy trader, you buy the breakout where the 52-week high back at 84.76 last October. I would. There's going to be there's two ways to do it. I would do it above $80, a close above 80. And if you really want to be a late to it, a close above 82.5. But by that point, it'll just run. You're just buying a 52-week high essentially at that point. And that's the way I would do it. But Nike looks decent. And another one, Super Microcomputer, a big day. So we're talking about Nike because it was up 6.5% today. We're talking about Super Micro because it's up 9.33% today. A massive day for Super Micro. Wow. I'm guessing these guys cured cancer as well through chips. Let me just do it on my Apple iPhone because it is so fast. Strong trading day. Oh my gosh. Nothing. Not really finding any news, perhaps a deal or something like that. I'm not really seeing much. I would not chase this here. I think it stays inside of the prior highs. Does that mean it can't go higher? No, it actually is overbought for the first time. This stock has not enjoyed long periods of overbought, and that's been the regime since February. It spikes, and then it goes lower. What is encouraging, I know it sounds like I'm teeter-tottering, is the 200 moving average is going up by about a nickel a day. I just personally want to chase this one. I would stay out of the way for about a week or so, and if you get in around, honestly, 46 even, I like that entry much better. Okie dokie. They're not all winners. There have been some losers. We're looking big losers today. Corteva, I remember being in this one about like 2 years ago. This was a big name. These guys are in the chemical industry, agriculture. They do seed and crop protection. They're a $45 billion company. I don't think there was earnings today. Let me see here what propelled this drop. There's so much that you're exposed to, of course, with single stock risk, and that's why people play ETFs. They're going to spin that seed business into a separate company. So that will, from what I can tell, that is what that is for. And yeah, so I don't like to get involved with these kind of spinoffs. It's a totally different valuation game according to book. In terms of the chart, it looks absolutely awful. It is oversold for the first time this year, and these guys peaked in July at 77. So we'll skip this one, but a nasty day for Corteva on that seed business spinoff. Let's look at this one, a company that I like a lot in terms of the stock. I'm not actually a big user of the website, the Reddit, but Reddit stock, a big move lower today, down 12%. Let me see. My spidey sense is tingling, saying that is this opportunity, because this thing is usually a winner. Falls for the second day as references to its content in ChatGPT responses plummet. So wow, that is how you think the AI story is. ChatGPT is not in the picture, or it's not driving a lot of the market. Again, the headline for this is the stock falls for a second day as references to its content in ChatGPT responses plummet. And I know when you look up in ChatGPT, it does give you Reddit stuff, and I love that. Apparently they're starting to have that decrease, and it sent the stock down 5% yesterday and down 12% today. Here's the good news, to be very frank with you, and I think there's always a bull market somewhere. This thing has not even been in a scary position since June 17th. And I'd say that based on a close below a rising 200 moving average. Tesla did the same thing with you. I talked about that yesterday on Spaces. When you have almost like crypto, when you have a rising 200 moving average like this, you give it the benefit of the doubt. That is like a good kid that brings home great scores pretty consistently. They brought home an F, once in a while, and a class that's not too good, they improve it, and then bang, they get back to their ways. This, I just want to point out, is November 18th, a clean rejection of 283. That doesn't look like the stock is ready to be there anytime soon. Back to what I was saying, the good news. I think this is basing this week. I think this is a great opportunity to get into a great name here, a $43 billion name. Unfortunately, they don't make a ton of money. They have $1.6 billion in revenue. So it's a crazy PE for me, projected 1-year PE at 50, but we are in the growth risk on phase. The flows have also dropped since the end of August. I'm doing that in terms of Chaikin money flow. That 3:30 to 4 o'clock, it has not closed super well. And you see some larger, red candles here, especially after the highs. Looks like some exits. All that being said, the important actionable thing here. Give this time to base here. I think 200. I like that they sent it to 197.5 and they scooped it up. Give this time this week. I think it'll base around 200. I still personally think you are really sitting pretty if you have an exit, if you have an entry under, I'll be honest, under 210. This thing to me, it looks like it will get back to 240. It is weak though. I do want to note, obviously, it's got a look. This is actually the exact same RSI, 36. It's dropped to each time since April 21st in succession. So it's pretty interesting to me. I hope it stops here. I think it honestly does. Let me just do a quick 15-day cycle. If it were clean, 12/3. So it's on the 18th, 12, October 3rd. That's literally tomorrow's the 2nd. I think a day or two for this one, and then you're going to wake up to gains to 240. This story is not over. Also, just want to point out a divergence here. You didn't even get to the prior high RSI. Obviously it was 89. This thing was like a freight train, nothing stopping it until that correction and then boom. But the stock showed you that day on September 18th, the all-time high. It was not ready to be at 283, and then boom, a quick move lower. That's why we say don't chase positions or whatnot. But I do like Reddit for an entry. Probably in the next coming days, it looks good under 210. I think you're looking at 240 by a couple of weeks, end of the month. All right. Why are we talking about today? Second worst stock today after Corteva. Reddit down 9% on that spinoff news, and Reddit down 12 on that ChatGPT response decrease. And then a financial that did not enjoy a great day. Wells Fargo down 3.5%. That is quite a move. Again, financials have been in a great spot. Look at this stock. Absolutely incredible. It just had one bad week when SPY, the U.S. stock market, was having a bad week. This was the bad time for Wells Fargo this entire year, from April 3rd to April 22nd. After that, an absolute superstar. Absolute superstar. I think this also has a rich div. 2.1%. This looks good. What did these guys do? Earnings are coming up. We do want to state that earnings are beginning. These guys report October 14th. You always want to remember that financials, JP Morgan, kick things off. So that is happening. Waits for more AI monetization. No. That was reading something else. Not really sure. Maybe some price cuts. I really don't know what the specific news, if anything, on Wells Fargo. Also, similar to Reddit, this was a clean rejection here. I'm looking at these tall candles, and this was just 5 days after Reddit hit its highs. This stock was not ready for $87, and then boom, down almost 10% since then. This I still think will be in the penalty box for like another week or so. The low to me will probably right around 78.5. And that would be a great entry. This closed pretty much at the lows. I think they were almost upset that the bell rang. I think they send this a little bit lower in the next week or so. And then you do want to enter this at a 78 handle. Thing's an obvious superstar. This isn't April for this. This will return to its great days. Be careful trading it right into earnings. I'm not a huge fan of that unless you do it in a very risk-controlled manner. But I love your entry here if you get in under $78. I think that's a great entry. And the target is 86 as it gets back to those all-time highs. Okay, top three gainers of the past 5 days. Hopefully no repeating charts. Number one here, the best stock in the market over the past 5 days, Bloom Energy. This thing, again, up 6, almost 7% today to new all-time highs. This thing, we highlighted it back in, I think it was August, actually. This thing's been overbought essentially from July 24th to September 23rd. That is 2 months of overbought. And what did it do in terms of spot price? I'm doing this from VWAP on day-to-day closes. $32. That euphoria sent it to $84. So in 2 months, you can make, and that was just in the common, let alone what you could have done in the options. So absolute fire. This Bloom Energy. What do you do here? Wait for, this is crazy. The flows have been great on this name. Obviously, like I said, especially since July. This is my target on this was about $87 to the high side. So this has been a massive week. The stock is up 31% in 5 days, or an average of 6% a day. It's literally doing that today. Yesterday 7, the day before 15, the day before that 5. So this thing's almost like an ATM. There's another thing that lets me believe in the divergences here. We have an all-time high, and the RSI barely squeaked 73. It still is overbought, has some euphoria. I personally would not chase this. I would much rather get an entry at. I don't think $71 is crazy, but you're going to have to wait. You have to be patient. It probably happens in the next 1 to 2 weeks. But this thing has amazing money flow. Look at the size of these candles. Folks want to get into this electrical equipment, fuel cell, $20 billion name. All right, Bloom Energy, best stock in the market this week. That trades at least 10 million shares daily and at least $20 share price. You're crushing it if you have Bloom Energy and you sailed it this week, riding it this week to new all-time highs. Number two, best stock this week, and I want to say week, obviously it's the past 5 days, Western Digital. And this is not a new name by any stretch. We all remember Tech Hardware. They do the hard disk drive and data storage, $40 billion company. And this stock is a new all-time high today, up 9%. My target for this, upside to 110. So, I mean, I liked it up here, 105 with a move to 110. This has really exploded today. And this has been standing room only to get into since May 13th. Exactly when we said SPY, no reason to own that, or no reason not to own the market May 12th, May 13th, right around that day. Same thing here is when this stock entered overbought. And this thing has an 86 RSI today. So you're going to have to wait in line for quite a while. Let me see if these guys cured breast cancer. Just literally, I'm seeing Morgan Stanley outperforming competitors on a strong day. The industry will be stronger for longer. Wow, that's all we need. So great candle, obviously up 9%. This thing is a superstar. If you have the patience of Mother Teresa, I would wait to get in around 105, but that might cost you. Hopefully, we have better setups than this. Congrats, though, if you're in it. This thing's up 19% in the past 5 days, or up 9% today. And then the one we talked about earlier, third best stock this week, Intel. So a lot of tech, and then obviously the other name, Intel, on the heels of it's not an all-time high. This was back in 2000, those heydays. This was a $75 stock, split adjusted. But here, it just got to 52-week highs last week at 36.30. And look at this, bullish engulfing up 7% today is Intel. We talked about this for a while yesterday on Spaces too. They're just a terribly run company. I wouldn't personally chase it here. I know that it's probably going to go to $36. I just like a higher setup than that. I see also the volume kind of dropping a little bit. I just think you need the enthusiasm in the name. I do like the 200-day stabilization and rally, but it's a semi-name. There's better, in my opinion. There's Micron that's been basically unstoppable. Broadcom. Yeah, every squirrel gets a nut. I just don't love chasing this name. If you absolutely must, I'd rather get in at around 29 or $30. I just don't love that one. But Intel enjoying a great past 5 days, or 3% a day today. 2x that, up 7. All right, now let's look at the losers. They don't all go up. The biggest loser for the past week, Carmax. And I think this thing cratered today. No, this thing cratered on earnings, down 20%. Carmax. I'm guessing people are obviously not using it. A lot of the folks in this kind of space, AutoZone, like the specialty retail that lose to Amazon and such, have lost so much value and are now trading below books. So, for example, the Carmax has $28 billion a year in revenue. It's a $7 billion market cap. So it's just there's lots of things like this. Be careful trading it because it just continues to look lower. The bottoms fell out. Again, love technicals. Oversold. It was this conditions was the same day it closed under the 200-day moving average. No reason to be in the stock as of March 6th. Don't care. Even with this kind of forgiveness here, with those earnings, not interested. What happens here if you're a bottom feeder and you like stuff like this? Be careful. I personally did not think this would drop below 50 after even with the earnings, because here was earnings 57. I was anticipating a gap down to about 50. It went even lower and actually dropped as low as 43 that day. I think, like with everything else in the market, I do think you get a dead cat bounce over the next 2 weeks. It's probably going to be frustrating, but it'll probably bring the stock to $53 to $54. I just wouldn't buy those straight outright calls. I wouldn't even buy the stock. But it probably rallies. Today up 2.6%, but this is the worst stock in the past 5 days. Carmax down 19%, or an average of 4% a day. Starting to recover a little bit. It's going to take some time, though, to fill this gap all the way to 57. Next one, Draftkings. Haven't looked at this stock in a while. Down 18% over the past 5 days. This thing got rocked. It's down 6%. No earnings. Let me see if there's any news. Don't see any earnings. Boopity boopity bop. Nope. Prediction markets are gaining momentum. So folks are exiting. That's probably pretty predictable. Are exiting some of the Draftkings, and they're entering that Kalshi type markets. Like, I don't know, Sydney Sweeney's going to do a commercial for ShopRite today or something. There's a market for that. So people are getting more into that, the gen culture. It makes sense. This name, Draftkings, peaked on February 14th, Valentine's Day, at 53.60. And really, it's tough. The 200-day moving average was going higher. And then just recently, like this week, is now starting to go lower. And these highs are really in the past here back in February. Now, what do we think of the stocks? I trust the stock and I give it a leash with a rising 200 moving average, but it's not. And wow, a 15 RSI with the highest volume just a few days ago, a real relative strength breakdown. Do not love this right here. It probably gets a sympathy bid over the next 2 weeks. That takes it to 42 to 43. I do believe in that. Trying to think of the options plays on it. That's probably got a date with $40. You could buy check. The candle also is not really convincing. The low today was 35.06, and they closed at 20 cents off. Part of me wants to take a look at the 37 calls, like going out to November. I think you can make money. I also like the flush. They haven't had a huge ton of days here. I mean, best case scenario, you're range bound between 40 and 48, but then you're still you make money on the 37.5 calls. I'd have to check the liquidity and everything else, wait for it to exit this oversold, kind of see what it's done with Carmax, some digestion days. But Draftkings down almost 4% a day, today down 6%. So I don't love that. You want to see that start to stop. Stochastic Momentum X looking lower here, but pretty much as low as it's been. I think there's a trade in Draftkings. You got to be patient, and then you'll get paid on it. And I wouldn't turn this into investment. It would be just a trade. And the last one that is, I believe, should be an investment is Ionq. Ionq down 15% over the past 5 days, or 3% a day. Today up nearly 3% a day, coming off the highs here. Beautiful RSI 88 with the all-time, or with the 52-week high at 76. No, that's the all-time high. Yeah. Let me go back. Time frame. Yes. And then it still had a drop to the 20-day, but it's just a high volatile name. Now what? Love this group. The computing stocks, they lead obviously year over year. And we'll take a look and you'll see what I mean. Give this is a tough one. In terms of entry, I still think maybe like another 5 days or so. Let this one just a base around here. A beautiful entry would be $60 even. And the target to me is still right around $70. I don't want to get that rich and say 82. I know what this is saying here with the Bollinger Band. But I don't want to get that super bullish on it. I love the stock, obviously. What is this? 2 closes all year below a rising 200-day moving average? Yeah, that's LeBron, you pick the year, like years 1 through 10. That is prime stallion behavior. So that is great. The 200-day moving average, for goodness sakes, is at 39. And the highs were almost 2x from the same, then on September 23rd. So give us a little bit of time. If you get in at 60, I love that. I would probably do. It's so volatile, you don't really need to buy straight calls, but you could do a December call spread, at 105%, something like that, or just do the straight 60 delta calls, or buy the stock because it's volatile enough. All right, those were the bad losers of the week. If you had Carmax, Draftkings, and Ionq, yikes, you are not too happy. Top 3 trades of the past 5 days. If you were long the Bloom Energy, long Western Digital, and short Carmax, you absolutely crushed the stock market. Those were the 3 perfect trades. They're all double-digit absolute outperformers. Now, my favorite part of the show when I do the year over year is when I really, start to sharpen up and we'll take my pen out and really start to see some trades. Top 3 trades over the past 52 weeks. I did something a little bit different here. This isn't the OK lows or even the Palantirs or hoods. I included the crazy quantum names just to include them here. They're really, really not gathering steam. They've been, but let's take a look at the group. They're just, you don't have to own all of them, but I did want to take a look at the 3 leaders. Rhymes with spaghetti. I talked about this yesterday on Spaces too. Number 1 stock in the market year over year is Rigetti Computing. Okay, this thing is up 38.64% year over year. That's 3,864%. And if you say, I don't understand, what the heck, how is that possible? Or how, specifically, exactly how that's possible is last year, the thing was at 75 cents, and today it's trading $30, and there's your 3,800%. I would stay out of the way for this for about a week and a half. Volatile as it gets here, it is still overbought as it's been for 2 weeks. Absolutely insane. And that's really all you need sometimes to enjoy these runs here. Again, look at lazy trader. You buy the breakout above $21, overbought. You're going in drive significantly. You're going 0 to 60 right here, and then what's this do to the stock? 22 to 32 in a jiffy, just like that. And then you can exit or you can stay on. Personally, right here, I would give this about a week and a half or so. I would love an entry at about $25. I think there's a good chance you get it, and then the target is still right around 30, around where we are here. I think these things, like the chart we were looking at before too, I think these things are a little bit overextended, and I was going to take a little bit of time to digest. But that is Rigetti Computing. Congrats if you were in this at all from last year. Again, after this earnings report, I know what's the market cap on this company? $10 billion now on $8 million revenue. $8 million, so it's nothing basically. And they're in the quantum computer superconducting quantum processor space. Of course, isn't everyone? This has no as of Thanksgiving of last year, this thing was up and away. Once the thing got above $3, it's just absolutely crazy. I remember folks talking about it last year as well. So that's Rigetti Computing. I would give about a week and a half. You get it at $25. Congratulations. It's very likely going higher. Next one, very similar space, quantum computing. QUBT. This is up just 2,800%, 2,845%. Very similar. As of last Thanksgiving, this thing cleared a hurdle as well. But the only thing different here is this peaked when the Fed cut last December at $27, and now it's been, I don't even want to call it range bound, but essentially it is still trading underneath that. Let me see here. It is your second best performer year over year. To be very frank with you, give this. I like this. Looks like. Let me take a look at this. Hold on. I love an entry here at 18 even, and I know it seems like, you're nitpicking. It's $19 here. That's 5% off right there. So you're going to be careful here. What a huge day this was, up 27% on September 19th, and now it's just digesting. Till then, we're right at the 20-day moving average. That's why I like it. I think you can get in this at around 8. Where did we close? 1846. I think you can get into this right around here. The only thing I'm getting concerned here, it went to 1968 and they rejected that and then closed it near the lows. It's kind of like a mixed picture, but it is up 3%. Looks like it needs a little bit of time. If you get into this one under 18.5, how about that? Under 18.5, and I think it's going to happen this week, that entry. I do think you're looking at $22 in the next 2 to 3 weeks in QUBT. So this one, I think, looking good. $22. That's $4 up from here. That's a massive, massive move. You're looking at, what is that? At least 20% is what I'm looking at. I think you get it in the next couple of weeks on this. Still holding about 50 RSI, especially through this period. I like it. This is a small. What's the market cap on this? These are $3 billion on basically no revenue. So this is a total quantum computing. Black box or, totally pre-revenue. So that is QUBT. I think it's setting up. I like it under 18.5. I think it's set to 22. And then the last one up 86%. So very close with QUBT is QBTS. This is D-Wave Quantum. And these guys hit their highs on September 24th, just last week, at $29. And now they sold it off to 25. And today it's up 4%. Overbought for many periods of the year. Love to see that. Let me see here. $8 billion name of $22 million revenue. So at least they make more than QUBT. I would not enter this right here. Give this about another 5-ish days or so. 22 is a better entry here. I think you do get it if you get that time frame of about a week of patience. I would get in around 22, and to me, the target is about 26, nearly where we are here. So that also is about 20%. So I would be prepared for a bit of a move. I said before, I think it was last month, I said, these quantum computing stocks, I think might struggle for the next couple of weeks. Well, those weeks are now done. Ionq kind of reversed that at the time. It sorted higher, and I called it out. I said I was wrong, and now Ionq's having the third worst stock week and now I think it's getting ready again. I like QBTS and QUBT. Alrighty, I will be back tomorrow. We will do an ETF weekly wrap up because I will not be available on Friday. Hope you enjoy this, and we will talk then.